So good morning everyone. My name is Abhay Singh and I welcome you all in today's video analysis of the Hindu. Today is 14th of November 2024. So a happy Children's Day to everybody. A happy Children's Day to everyone out there. अपने अंदर का बच्चा मत मरने दीजिए. So on that note, we'll start with the first news headline for the day. So the first news headline is coming all the way from the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court of India has put a break on the bulldozer culture by pronouncing certain important guidelines related to this whole new concept of bulldozer justice. Now, while delivering this particular justice, this particular judgment or this particular order was given by a two judges bench of the Honorable Supreme Court of India, and this is the bench. The bench has two judges. The two judges of the Supreme Court, Justice B.R. Gawai and Justice K.V. Vishwanathan. Now, these directions were issued in the case of the name of the case is very important. Now, from the examination point of view, they have never asked the exact case title of any particular case, but again, you never know when they change the pattern of anything, so you have to prepare yourself for any kind of situation. So the name of the case is in re directions in the matter directions in the matter directions in the matter of demolition of structure. Right. So this is the case title in red directions in the matter of demolition of structures. Now this particular case was this particular issue was there with the Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court of India has given certain guidelines by exercising power given under Article 142 of the Indian Constitution. Now this extraordinary power is utilized by the Honorable Supreme Court of India to stop states from doing unlawful things, and by threatening accused in the worst possible way. So now, while pronouncing or while giving directions to the states in this particular case, there's this four lines which were used by Justice B.R. Gawai. Now these four lines are basically: अपना घर हो, अपना आंगन हो, इस ख्वाब में हर कोई जीता है, इंसान के दिल की एक चाहत है कि एक घर का सपना कभी ना छूटे. This was the reference which was given by the Justice B.R. Gawai to make someone understand the importance of a home. Right. So now let's talk about the guideline. So what was going in the society, or what was going in this what was going wrong with the states, that when there is some serious case in the society, someone is accused of committing a particular crime. Now, instead of going to the court and following the lawful procedure, state government used to do that, they directly used to demolish the house of that particular accused. Now that particular accused is yet to be declared guilty by any court of law, but before the pronouncement of judgment, the state government used to take law in their hands and they used to demolish the houses. Now this is the background of this particular case. Now a two judges division bench of the Honorable Supreme, or a regular bench of the Supreme Court, has invoked which powers given under Article 142, and the powers given under 142 are basically unbridled, and these are extraordinary power given under Article 142. Now, by using this power, Supreme Court has issued certain binding directives to the state government. Now, these binding directives are the first directive is that you have to give a 15 days prior notice before the demolition. So the state has to give a 15 days prior notice of demolition. जिसका भी आप घर गिराने वाले हैं उसको आप 15 डेज का एक प्रायर नोटिस देंगे, और आप उस नोटिस में ये भी चीज बताएंगे कि आपके घर का कौन सा पार्ट जो है वो जिसका कंस्ट्रक्शन है वो अनऑथराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन है, या किन पर्टिकुलर ग्राउंड्स पे वो डिमोलिशन एक्सरसाइज कंडक्ट करने जा रहे हैं. अब देखिए, अब अगर कोई भी इंसान जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के इस एक्शन को चैलेंज करना चाहता है, उसको एक फेयर अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलनी चाहिए कोर्ट में स्टेट के इस डिसीजन को चैलेंज करने के लिए. दिस वाज द सेकंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट गाइडलाइन इशूड बाय द ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट. एंड द थर्ड गाइडलाइन व्हिच इज आल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, दैट द एंटायर प्रोसेस ऑफ डिमोलिशन शुड बी वीडियोग्राफ. The entire process of demolition should be videographed. Now, any officer who will not follow these guidelines, now one of the most important thing that you have to understand, that when Supreme Court of India issues certain guidelines, if state government does not follow that particular guideline, then the Supreme Court of India can punish that particular person for the contempt of court. So if any particular authority is not following these particular guidelines which are issued by the Honorable Supreme Court of India in directives in the matter of demolition of structure केस में जो guidelines issue की गई हैं, अगर उनको नहीं follow करेगा तो उसके against basically क्या होगा, contempt of court की proceedings initiate की जाएंगी and those officers will be liable for the restitution of the demolished property. मतलब आपने जो property गिराई है विदाउट फॉलोइंग द गाइडलाइंस ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट, आपको उस प्रॉपर्टी को वापस से रीइंस्टीट्यूट करना होगा, मतलब रेस्टिट्यूट करना होगा. रेस्टिट्यूट करने का मतलब क्या है कि आपको उस चीज को पहले जैसा ही करना होगा, आपको कॉम्पनसेशन भी देना पड़ सकता है. ना झारखंड में कल असेंबली इलेक्शंस का पहला फेज कंडक्ट हुआ, कंप्लीट हुआ एंड द वोटर टर्नआउट वाज एट 66%. So this is a great news. This is a great news for the democracy as well that more and more people are participating in these elections. झारखंड में पहले फेज में 66.51% लोगों ने पार्टिसिपेट किया. So this is actually a good news. Now we'll move to the next important part of today's newspaper. So we have the second important news headline is on page number 2. The decreasing AQI level, the decreasing air quality index in Delhi is making tough for the Delhites to breathe in the polluted air of Delhi. Now the AQI has reached above 450 in most part of Delhi. Above 450 पहुंच चुका है in the most part of Delhi. And now this particular the main problem with this particular the main issue with this problem is the main issue with the government is that government is not taking adequate steps, because before Diwali they have this plan of this cloud seeding and artificial rain, but as of now the government is yet to take any step on the this cloud seeding and artificial rain. So this also becomes very much relevant when we talk about issues like this, that the decreasing air quality index, and also by Honorable Supreme Court of India has issued a number of guidelines time and again, but these guidelines are of no use because again there are guidelines, but those guidelines are not implemented in the best possible way. So the failure on the part of state is making tough for the people living in Delhi to breathe in the worst air quality. Now the next important thing, and there are a number of factors which are actually responsible when it comes to there are actually a number of factors which are actually responsible when it comes to the decreasing air quality of the Delhi. So now we'll move to the next important aspect. Next important aspect पे हम move करते हैं आज के newspaper में. So again these are all political news items. We won't be dealing in detail with when it comes to these political you know so we'll keep on moving. So there is no important news on page number 6, and the lot of news items are related to elections, as that this is the only reason why there nothing important on different page item. So this is the article which is important from the examination point of view. This is actually related to delimitation and why the government is delaying this delimitation exercise, and what are the concrete steps that the government should take to effectively implement this particular policy of delimitation, and also the main idea of delimitation. What is the main idea of delimitation? So basically delimitation is a basic exercise. And what is this basic exercise? So delimitation is done, or delimitation is actually done to fix the boundaries of a state, to fix the boundaries of the constituencies. अब कोई भी parliamentary constituency या state legislative assembly के elections में जो constituencies होती हैं, उन boundaries को after a certain period of time fix करना on the basis of population, that is the main task of delimitation commission of India. Delimitation. Now this particular delimitation करने वाली delimitation commission को appoint करने वाली authority का नाम क्या है? So honorable president of India will appoint the delimitation commission. Or the next important thing that you have to remember from the examination point of view, that the first delimitation after the independence took place in 1952. 1952 में पहला delimitation हुआ था इंडिया में on the basis of the 1951 census, right? So we'll start with this much of background information. So when it comes to delimitation, delimitation is one of the most essential part of the principle of federalism. Now this is also important from the examination point of view, because we have seen n number of articles between July to October, which are actually related to this idea and the concept of federalism. So moving on, federalism is part of the inviolable basic structure of the constitution. Now it has been said in the various cases that federalism is a part of basic structure cases like SR Bomai versus the Union of India, where Supreme Court has said that federalism is a part of basic structure. The Indian Union is a federal union. Federal union. States are federating units. Most states find their basis in language, and many states of Indian Union are continuations of ethno-linguistic homelands that have existed for centuries over even millennia. This is precisely why the Supreme Court of India has termed states as political units and not arbitrary administrative units. So basically this is giving the background that for how many for n number of years we have been following this particular principle of federalism, and how we have this strong ethno-linguistic we are a homeland, we are the homeland to ethno-linguistic minorities and majorities as well, and how things are actually going on in our country. Now, when we talk about delimitation, then Article 82 of Indian Constitution is extremely or abundantly clear when it comes to delimitation commission or delimitation. Now, Article 82 of the Indian Constitution requires that the number of Lok Sabha seats per state is recalibrated after each census by the delimitation commission in accordance with the population. So this is already we have discussed it, that Article 82 of Indian Constitution makes it abundantly clear that after every census, after each census, the number of seats in Lok Sabha are calibrated. Now, why the seats are recalibrated? The reason is very simple, because after every census there is a change in the population. So on the basis of that population, a new delimitation exercise is conducted after every census. It is given in Article 82 of Indian Constitution. Now, delimitation last happened based on the 1971 census. So जो last delimitation India में हुआ था, that took place on the basis of 1971 census. When in 1976 the Indira Gandhi government suspended the delimitation process for 25 years until 2001, it was further suspended for another 25 years by the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government and would lapse by 2026 unless another amendment is introduced. So the last delimitation exercise took place on the basis of 1971 census. Then again in 1976 the Indira Gandhi government suspended the delimitation process for 25 years. Then this 25 years period was completed in 2001. Then again the government of Atal Bihari Vajpayee brought another amendment and it suspended delimitation for another 25 years. So this becomes very difficult for the current government as well, that if they want to conduct any delimitation exercise, then they have to conduct it, and otherwise they have to brought any amendment. अगर उनको कोई change नहीं करना है, then they have to brought any amendment, और अगर changes नहीं करने तो they have to do the delimitation after 2026, right? Because in 2001 the government of Atal Bihari Vajpayee has suspended the delimitation for 2006, or for the next 25 years. The freezing of delimitation was done in order not to disincentivize or disincentive state that were effective in population control. Now, the best thing about this, or the best or the worst thing about the delimitation, is it mainly focuses on the population. If the population of any particular state is more, then that particular state have more say when it comes to the number of seats in Lok Sabha, right? Because जिस particular state का population ज़्यादा होगा, उसके पास number of seats ज़्यादा होगी, and this is the logic. This is the same logic why Uttar Pradesh has 80 Lok Sabha seats, because Uttar Pradesh is the most populated state in the country, right? So अब क्या है कि अगर कोई state बहुत अच्छे से जो चाइल्ड कंट्रोल में या चाइल्ड बर्थ कंट्रोल में या जो पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल को इफेक्टिवली इंप्लीमेंट कर रहा है, वो स्टेट्स थोड़ा सा उनको डिसएडवांटेज होता है. डिसएडवांटेज इज वेरी सिंपल. इट इज एक्चुअली नेसेसरी टू कंट्रोल द पॉपुलेशन, बट delimitation commission or the exercise of this delimitation exercise does not take these things into account. that you have taken certain steps for the population control. If the population of your state is low, you will get less number of seats in the Lok Sabha. Now, the total fertility rate. Now, what is TFR? Total fertility rate is a demographic indicator that estimates that the average number of children a woman gives birth during her reproductive years. So, this basic definition of total fertility rate or TFR is बेसिकली एक जो वुमेन होती है उसके लाइफ का जो रिप्रोडक्टिव ईयर्स होते हैं उसमें वो कितने चिल्ड्रन या कितने चाइल्ड को बर्थ दे सकती है, दैट इज नोन एज टोटल फर्टिलिटी रेट. नाउ व्हेन वी look at Indian demography, we have 28 states and 8 UTs in India. Right, but when you look at the exact demographic structure of a country, then you will find that there are certain differences as well. Now, even today, TFR, total fertility rate of non-Hindi states such as Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal is in 1.6 to 1.8 range, below the replacement level of 2.1. Right, so there are several states in India where this TFR, total fertility rate, is between 1.6 to 1.8. Now there are other chunk of states like Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and UP, where this TFR stands at 3.5. Now this average replacement level is 2.1. Right. अब कुछ स्टेट्स ऐसे हैं जहाँ पे रिप्लेसमेंट लेवल से जो टीएफआर है वो कम है, और कुछ स्टेट्स ऐसे हैं जहाँ पे टीएफआर लेवल रिप्लेसमेंट लेवल से ऊपर है. Now this has been true for many decades, and thus by now a recalibration via delimitation will mean a radical decrease in the proportion of non-Hindi state seats in the Lok Sabha. Now this is the main question that the author is raising, that the author is actually asking to the readers of this particular newspaper, that what will happen, because delimitation is conducted on the basis of the population, and there are certain states in India which have a very low total fertility rate, which is actually below the replacement level. Then there are certain states in India where the total fertility rate is much above the replacement level of 2.1. So states with the higher, or states with the high TFR will directly benefit from this kind of exercise. अब इससे होगा क्या कि एक इंडिया में एक जो सर्टेन स्टेट्स हैं जहाँ पे ये टीएफआर कम है, उन पर्टिकुलर स्टेट्स के हाथ में कम ही सीट्स आएंगे, और अगर सीट्स कम आएंगे तो उनका जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन है इन द लोकसभा, दैट विल डिक्रीज ऑटोमेटिकली. So these are the things that you have to understand why delimitation is actually necessary, and various other things should be taken into account before actually conducting the delimitation, because we cannot effectively say that हाँ अगर हम चीज़ों को ऐसे कर रहे हैं तो वो चीज़ें उतनी ही effectively वैसे हो जाएंगी. Right, now moving on. The proportion of seats in parliament for the southern states would be reduced from 25% to 17%, and the number of seats from Hindi heartland states where the Bharatiya Janata Party has electoral dominance would increase from 40 to 60%. So these authors are, I guess, are not the ones who like actually Bharatiya Janata Party. The authors are very much left wing. I must say this, they are left wing writers, because they brought a political angle beautiful in this particular article. So what the authors of this particular articles are suggesting, that if we do the delimitation with the current formula, तो इससे क्या होगा कि जो सदर्न पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया है उसमें जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन है अभी 25% है, ये कम होकर के ऑटोमेटिकली 17% हो जाएगा. एंड दोज हिंदी स्पीकिंग स्टेट जैसे नॉर्दर्न इंडिया बेल्ट जहाँ पे भारतीय जनता पार्टी का डोमिनेंस बहुत ज्यादा है, द इलेक्टोरल डोमिनेंस वुड इंक्रीज फ्रॉम 40 टू 60%. अगर आप मोस्ट नंबर ऑफ सीट्स वाले स्टेट्स देख लें तो मोस्टली दे आर फ्रॉम नॉर्दर्न इंडिया, और नॉर्दर्न इंडिया में हिंदी स्पीकिंग स्टेट्स में भारतीय जनता पार्टी हैज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग होल्ड. तो इसी चीज को लेकर के भी ऑथर क्वेश्चन कर रहा है कि अगर डिलिमिटेशन करंट फॉर्मूला के बेसिस पे होता है तो सदर्न स्टेट्स का जो पार्टिसिपेशन है दैट विल गो डाउन, और जो पार्टिसिपेशन है नॉर्दर्न इंडिया का दैट विल गो अप. States such as Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu already receive only about 30% of the total funds that contribute as direct taxes, while Bihar and Uttar Pradesh receive between 250% and 350% of their overall contribution. Right, so there are certain states in India now. This is another important thing that you have to take into account. Now, these states like Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu are contributing a lot in the national GDP. Like these states contribute around 30% in the direct taxes. Now, नॉट बेसिकली जितना भी लोग ये लोग डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस में कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं, स्टेट्स लाइक महाराष्ट्र, तमिलनाडु, इसका सिर्फ 30% ही इन्हें मिलता है किस चीज में, एज अ फंड फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट। और कुछ स्टेट्स ऐसे इंडिया में है, बिहार और उत्तर प्रदेश जैसे, कि ये लोग जितना डायरेक्ट टैक्स में कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं, बिहार को उससे 250% ज्यादा मिलता है और उत्तर प्रदेश को 350% टाइम्स ज्यादा मिलता है। The decision of the 16th Finance Commission to include the 2011 census instead of 1971 census to devolve funds to state will even more discriminatory to developed states. Now, this particular information is very much relevant from the examination point of view. And what is the exact information that you have to remember? So, this is the information that you have to remember, that the 16th Finance Commission, which was recently constituted by the Honorable President of India on 31st of December 2023, with Shri Arvind Panagari as its chairman. Now, the 16th Finance Commission of India has made it abundantly clear that they will utilize the data of 2011 census to devolve funds amongst the state. They will not utilize the data of the 1971 census. So, this is one relevant information that you will keep it in your mind, that it is that the government will, or the 16th Finance Commission will use the data of 2011 census. Right, now moving on. The difference with states such as China and Russia is that they are only federally named, the population being made of ethno-linguistic group with a majority of upwards 80% and several other minority nationalities. India is a federation of various uh, ethno-linguistic stakeholders, none of whom is a majority in India, but the major ones among them form the basis of various linguistic states where they are super majority. So this is actually true, that India is a federation of various ethno-linguistic stakeholders, none of them whom is a majority in India. So these ethno-linguistic stakeholders does not constitute a majority in India, but these stakeholders are scattered across various states. These stakeholders are scattered across various states, and one more thing that you have to keep it in your mind is that भले ही अगर आप होलिस्टिकली बात करें तो भले ये जो इथनो लिंग्विस्टिक स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं ये एक मेजॉरिटी कॉन्स्टिट्यूट ना करते हो, बट बहुत सारे स्टेट्स इंडिया में ऐसे हैं जो ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ लैंग्वेज जिनका डिवीजन हुआ है, तो वहां पर ये लोग मेजॉरिटी जरूर कॉन्स्टिट्यूट करते हैं, ये चीज भी आप लोग याद रखेंगे। अब हिंदी स्पीकिंग जो पॉपुलेशन है दैट इज इंक्रीज फ्रॉम 36 to 43%, and the author is saying that for a democracy, when you want to be yourself in a majority, you need only 50%. So अब जो हिंदी स्पीकिंग लोग हैं जिनका पॉपुलेशन ऑलरेडी 36% से बढ़कर के 43% हो ही गया है, राइट। Now the ratio of Lok Sabha seats allocated to a states to the total number of Lok Sabha seats represent the stakeholdership index of a state in the matters of the union. So what is this stakeholdership index of a state? So stakeholdership index of a state is basically that how much stake you have in the Lok Sabha, or how much you represent. Take one example that UP has 80 Lok Sabha seats. UP has 80 Lok Sabha seats, and total number of seats in Lok Sabha are 543. Right. So what is this stakeholdership index of a state? So this is the stakeholdership index of a state, that the total number of seats in Lok Sabha are 543, and out of these 80 seats are with the Uttar Pradesh, which means that almost 60% of seats, or 18 or 14 to 15% of seats are there with the Uttar Pradesh only. So इस वजह से क्या होगा कि जो स्टेक होल्डरशिप इंडेक्स है उसमें उत्तर प्रदेश इज एट द हायर स्पॉट, और रीजंस बहुत सिंपल है, क्योंकि उत्तर प्रदेश में 80 लोकसभा सीट्स हैं, एंड इफ यू कंपेयर देम देन यू विल फाइंड आउट कि हाँ इस वजह से यूपी का जो स्टेक होल्डरशिप इंडेक्स है उसमें वो थोड़ा सा ऊपर है। डिलिमिटेशन विल रिवॉर्ड द नॉन परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल पॉलिसीज दैट विल इफेक्टिवली डोमिनेट एंड डिटरमिन द पॉलिसी ऑफ द यूनियन। Now, another important thing that author is suggesting is that the states which are not actively or effectively controlling the population will get the direct benefit of delimitation, because those states will have more number of people, and delimitation is all about taking taking population into consideration, right? So this is the thing that we have to understand, that the states which are actually not performing well, the states which are not actually doing good uh, for the people of their state, or for the economy, or for the environment, क्योंकि अगर if you are not controlling population effectively in your state, then you are damaging our country, and you are damaging your surroundings in the best possible way. Now those states will get more stake in the those state will get more say in the Lok Sabha. Post delimitation, states such as Bihar and Madhya Pradesh, where BJP is dominant, will have their stake holdership index nearly double. Whereas states such as Kerala and Tamil Nadu, where the BJP has 1 to 0 seats, will see it being reduced by 30 to 40%, right? So the author is actually, raising a lot of finger on the Bharatiya Janata Party only, because he is suggesting that the states where BJP is dominant will have they will have higher ranking in the stakeholdership index, and the states like where BJP is not performing well, like in the southern part of India, और वहाँ पे जो population है उसको effectively control करने की कोशिश भी की गई, और वहाँ पे population भी ज़्यादा नहीं है। इस वजह से क्या होगा कि जो उनका स्टेक होल्डरशिप इंडेक्स में जो उनका स्कोर है या जो उनका रहेगा वो 30 से 40% तक कम हो सकता है। अब देखिए, द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ डिलिमिटेशन विल क्रिएट द परफेक्ट कॉकटेल ऑफ लेयर्ड डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, एंड इट इज एक्चुअली ट्रू दैट हाउ इट विल क्रिएट द कॉकटेल ऑफ द लेयर्ड डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. So this will create a cocktail of layered discrimination by providing those states जिनका taxes में contribution ज़्यादा है पर उनको return नहीं मिल रहा है उतना ज़्यादा, right? अब देखिए, जो सक्सेसफुल लोग हैं, as per the author of this particular article, the successful people are contributing more towards the development of this particular country, but the thing is that the benefits will be taken by the unsuccessful, and also the states with the more number of population, with the most population, will frame policies for the successful. अब हाउ इज दिस पॉसिबल, लाइक सपोज अब अगर कोई एक स्टेट ऐसा है जो 14% 15% जिसका कंट्रीब्यूशन है, राइट? तो अब क्या होगा कि गवर्नमेंट, अगर कोई भी गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म होगी तो बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे भी होंगे जो उस पर्टिकुलर स्टेट से बिलोंग कर रहे होंगे, राइट? अब यही एक बेसिकली चीज है कि जो अनसक्सेसफुल विल क्रिएट पॉलिसीज फॉर द सक्सेसफुल विद मनी फ्रॉम द सक्सेसफुल, राइट? So unsuccessful people will make policies for the successful with the money of the successful. मतलब जो सक्सेसफुल लोग हैं वो टैक्सेस दे रहे हैं, इसीलिए जो अनसक्सेसफुल लोग हैं जो पॉलिटिक्स में, वो सक्सेसफुल लोगों का पैसा यूज करके सक्सेसफुल लोगों के लिए ही पॉलिसीज बनाएंगे. No taxation without representation was the cry in the Boston Tea Party. In a similar way, delimitation will further shrink the representation of states that produce taxes, right? So the next important thing that author is suggesting, or the author is saying, is that this delimitation exercise will negatively impact the economies and the economies of the state as well, because indirectly or directly or indirectly it will shrink the representation of states that produces taxes, right? Because the states which contribute more taxes, or are contributing more towards the taxes of this country, they have this low TFR, total fertility rate, and the population of those states is also very less. So when the delimitation exercise will be done, or the delimitation exercise will be conducted, the participation or the share of these states will automatically fall. There can be many solutions. First, just follow what Ms. Gandhi and AP Vajpayee did: extend the fees by another 25 years and defer to a future generation. Now, the author is suggesting that different courses or different course of action can be taken, or a similar course of action can be taken by the current government as well. The current government can take the same step which was taken by the earlier which was taken by the Indira Gandhi and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. What Indira Gandhi and Atal Bihari Vajpayee did, that they extended this exercise of delimitation by 25 years. Mrs. Gandhi declared extended this particular exercise from 1976 to 2001. Then Atal Bihari Vajpayee extended this particular exercise from 2001 to 2026. So this particular course of action can be adopted by the Bharatiya Janata Party as well. This is the first primary solution. Now the second one would be second permanently fees delimitation as far as the India-wide redistribution of seats across states is concerned. The second important recommendation of the authors of this particular article is to freeze the delimitation as per the India delimitation को freeze कर देना चाहिए. And third, go through with the delimitation as envisaged, but supplement it with a long due new grand federal compact such that the concurrent list is abolished in favor of an expanded state list. All residual power vested to the states, and a larger scale transfer of subjects are made from the union list to the state list, keeping external affairs and currency in Delhi's hand. So this is the article. These are the suggestions which basically author is saying कि आप ऐसे इन तरीकों से भी चीज़ों को कर सकते हैं. But again, अगर आप लोग इसमें से कुछ चीज़ स्किप करना चाहें, you can skip it from the examination point of view. जितनी भी चीज़ें थी हमने उनको ऑलरेडी कवर कर लिया. We won't go into the philosophies and the ideologies part of this particular article. There is no benefit of discussing all these things. So now this CKM syndrome as the price of modernity. Now I won't be covering this particular article in detail. Like if you actually because there are only 15 days in examination, and from the examination point of view, this particular article does not carry that much value. Right, so this is the only this article is in itself is very important, but from the examination point of view, this particular from the entrance examination point of view, this particular article does not carry that much weightage. So for that reason, we will be skipping this particular article. If you want to read it, you can read it on your own. There's no one is stopping. But again, as of now, we won't be dealing with this particular article. Now there are a lot of small news items which are extremely important in today's newspaper. There are a lot of small news items which are actually important. So we'll see those news items as well. So these are the news items, small news items. So this is actually the expansion of the bulldozer justice. Supreme Court puts break on the bulldozer culture. The petitioner has complained that their property would. So this is actually uh, uh, the main say the Supreme Court की भाई आप ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हैं. This is the violation of human rights as well. Without giving the any kind of warning, or without giving any prior information, you are just encroaching upon the land of that particular person, and you are demolishing the property, which is not good. It is not good. Now Jamaat hails court verdict, victim seeks compensation. Now after this particular bulldozer, the judgment by the Supreme Court was delivered in this bulldozer demolition case. The Jamaat Jamaat Ulma Jamaat Ulma Hind has claimed that, not claimed actually, they have appreciated the verdict of the Honorable Supreme Court, and the victims have started demanding compensation from the state authorities as well, because the atrocities are so heinous that the governments of the states have done a lot of things which were not going good with the norms of the society, and which were not actually lawful. And mostly जो ये bulldozer justice वाली चीज जो थी, bulldozer culture था, it was mostly popular in the बीजेपी रूल्ड स्टेट. जो बीजेपी रूल्ड स्टेट्स थी, सिर्फ उन्हीं स्टेट्स में ऐसे ये कॉन्क्रीट और ऐसे स्टेप्स लिए जा रहे थे. जिन भी पर्टिकुलर स्टेट्स में बीजेपी नहीं थी, वहां पे ऐसा कुछ था ही नहीं. Right, so this was a kind of a slap by the Supreme Court of India on the various state. This was actually a tight slap on the state government's faces, because the state government thinks that they are the code. और यही चीज कोर्ट को पसंद नहीं है कि यू कैन नॉट बिकम द कोर्ट बाय एक्सरसाइजिंग सम अनलॉफुल थिंग्स, by doing some unlawful things. You have to do things extremely with extreme care if you want to do the things in the proper way. Now the most important thing which the Supreme Court of India has said while pronouncing the judgment in this particular case, that there is this principle of separation of power. Right, the powers are carefully divided between the executive, judiciary, and legislature. So there is no benefit, or there is no point that legislature is entering or the executive is entering into the domain of judiciary. Right, at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of the state government, it is the responsibility of the judiciary to give justice or to conclude the trial. And after the trial is concluded, the punishment is given to the accused. Before the trial is concluded and the judgment is delivered, the state governments cannot demolish the property of any person. Right, it is actually violation of their fundamental rights, and not only fundamental rights, this is the violation of human rights as well. Because if the accused is not living in that particular house, no, only accused is not living in that particular house, along with the accused, their family members are also living in that particular house. So you are not making the accused person homeless, you are making the other people who are living in that particular house homeless, because the accused have a roof, he is going to jail, he has a place to live. But what about the other family members which are actually getting impacted, or which are actually getting a negative impact of these particular kind of policies? So this is the thing that you have to understand, that why authorities like Supreme Court of India are actually important, because there are n number of cases where the state government tries to take things in their own hand. Now this whole page is dedicated to election, and I am in the I am in the favor of one nation, one election. So we don't have to see these kind of things like elections 2024. अभी झारखंड, अभी इलेक्शंस हुए हैं जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में, हरियाणा में, फिर उसके बाद अभी महाराष्ट्र में, देन वी हैव इन झारखंड, देन फिर ये बाई इलेक्शंस हैं, देन नेक्स्ट ईयर वी हैव द इलेक्शंस इन बिहार. So this whole things, every time the things are actually going on. न्यूज़पेपर वाले भी मतलब ठीक ठाक स्पेस मिलता है इन आइटम्स को. अगेन देखिए एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से क्या ही चीजें रिलेवेंट है इसमें। आप देखिए, now the Tri-Service Defense Space Agency, the Tri-Service Defense Space Agency has conducted its maiden tabletop exercise Antariksh Abhyas 2024. Please remember the name of the exercise. The name of the exercise is Antariksh Abhyas 2024. It is a tabletop exercise conducted by the Tri-Service Defense Space Agency. TSDSA ट्राई सर्विस डिफेंस स्पेस एजेंसी ने एक टेबल टॉप एक्सरसाइज कंडक्ट किया जिसका नाम है अंतरिक्ष अभ्यास। आप लोग याद रखेंगे। दूसरा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जो है, दूसरा एक और इम्पोर्टेंट चीज जो है वो भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है हमारे लिए। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने यूनियन गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ सर्टेन गाइडलाइंस इशू किए हैं। दीज गाइडलाइंस आर इशूड फॉर द कोचिंग इंडस्ट्रीज के लिए ये गाइडलाइन है। एंड दीज गाइडलाइंस आर बेसिकली दैट यू कैन नॉट पब्लिश द मिसलीडिंग एडवर्टीजमेंट्स because this has become so popular that a lot of misleading advertisement, the same person, the photo of same person you will find on the banners of 20 different coaching institutes. It is actually going on in Delhi, that you will see that the Union Public Service Commission has released the notification for 980 vacancies, right, or 880 vacancies. The next year when the results are announced, when the final result is announced, you will find that like there are hundreds of coachings in the country, और अगर आप उन सब जगह रिजल्ट का नंबर मिला करके टोटल देख लें तो आपको ये लगेगा कि 800 बच्चों का सिर्फ वैकेंसी निकला था और इंस्टीट्यूट वालों ने फोटोज 20,000 बच्चों की लगा रखी हैं, राइट। सो दिस समहाउ दिस डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली अफेक्ट द डिसीजन मेकिंग ऑफ द स्टूडेंट एज वेल, बिकॉज ही फील्स दैट कि इतने सारे बच्चे एग्जाम निकाल रहे हैं, हम भी एग्जाम निकाल ही लेंगे, राइट। सो दीज आर द थिंग्स दैट यू हैव टू दैट वन हैज टू अंडरस्टैंड। और इसी को लेकर के यूनियन कंज्यूमर अफेयर्स मिनिस्ट्री ने गाइडलाइंस इशू कर दिया है कि कोई भी फॉल्स क्लेम से रिलेटेड या कोर्स जिस तरीके के आप ऑफर कर रहे हैं या फैकल्टी के क्वालिफिकेशन पर आप प्रॉपरली चीज़ें और ट्रांसपेरेंटली चीज़ें बताएंगे, एंड जो फीस और रिफंड से रिलेटेड चीज़ें हैं उनको भी आपको इफेक्टिवली डील करना होगा। नाउ वी आर मूविंग इनटू द नेक्स्ट, वी आर मूविंग इनटू द बिजनेस सेक्शन ऑफ टुडेज न्यूज़पेपर। बिजनेस वाले सेक्शन में मूव कर रहे हैं। वी ऑल नो कुछ इतना इम्पोर्टेंट रहता नहीं है, बस स्विगी आफ्टर जोमेटो, स्विगी ने भी अपने आपको स्टॉक एक्सचेंज पे लिस्ट कर लिया, एंड दिस इज एक्चुअली अ गुड न्यूज। Now after Donald Trump became the 47th president of United States of India, Gautam Adani has committed, the this Adani family has committed that they will invest $10 billion in the US infrastructure, and it is basically in the energy sector. That Gautam Adani, the companies of Gautam Adani will invest $10 billion, and these $10 billion will create 15,000 jobs for the Americans. So this is actually the things which is happening, that now is the time when Indians are actually investing in United States of America and creating jobs for the Americans. So this is a big news for that. We are actually developing. We can see the impact of development. Now we are in the इंटरनेशनल सेक्शन एज वेल। इंटरनेशनल सेक्शन में अभी हम लोग हैं। अब श्रीलंका विल वोट टुडे फॉर द पार्लियामेंट्री इलेक्शंस, एंड दो 225 सीट्स पे आज इलेक्शंस होने, जिसमें से 113 सीट्स चाहिए होंगी अगर किसी भी पार्टी को मेजोरिटी क्लेम करना है। नाउ डोनाल्ड ट्रंप एंड विवेक रामास्वामी, डोनाल्ड ट्रंप हैज अपॉइंटेड एलॉन मस्क एंड विवेक रामास्वामी, they are basically the new head of Department of Government Efficiency. So this is a big change for the Americans, that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy has been appointed as the chairperson of the Department of Government Efficiency. And the next important thing that we have with us is, it is related to the Conference of Parties 29th edition meeting that is going on the Baku, Azerbaijan. And the most important thing which is actually related to this particular news item बाकू अजरबैजान से, कि 2030 तक एक एक्सपेक्टेड अमाउंट है कि 5 to 6.8 ट्रिलियन डॉलर की जरूरत पड़ेगी क्लाइमेट चेंजेस के इफेक्ट को मिटिगेट करने के लिए, एज पर द नेशनल कलेक्टिव क्वांटिफाइड गोल। एनसीक्यूजी के हिसाब से 2030 तक 5 से 6.8 ट्रिलियन डॉलर की हमें जरूरत पड़ेगी क्लाइमेट चेंजेस के इफेक्ट्स को मिटिगेट करने के लिए। और एक और इम्पोर्टेंट न्यूज लंदन से, दैट ब्रिटेन्स समंथा हार्वी, सो समंथा हार्वी हैज वन द 2024 बुकर प्राइज फॉर ऑर्बिटल। सीवीटी, यूजी और एलिट के लिए न्यूज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। बुक का नाम है ऑर्बिटल। ऑथर का नाम है समंथा हार्वी और 2024 का बुकर प्राइज इन्हें ही मिला है, आप याद रखेंगे। अब हम स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन में मूव करें। स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन में इतना कुछ है नहीं, हम 30-20 जीत चुके हैं, साउथ अफ्रीका को हम हरा चुके हैं सेंचुरियन में, 3-1 की लीड हमने ले ली है। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस नथिंग इज important in the sports section. With this, we'll wind up or we'll wrap up today's session. Thank you so much for watching today's video analysis, and I'm really sorry for the last 2 days we were not able to post the videos because of because of the certain technical issues, and also there was some recent internet and power issues. So with this, we'll wind up today's newspaper session. Thank you so much for watching today's video analysis. We'll see you in another session. Till then, bye bye, take care, and all the very best for your exams. Thank you.